Growing up, I didn't have a ton of friends. Shocking, I know. I moved around a lot. It was really difficult to retain any sort of long-term friendships when you're only around for like a month. At the time, this didn't really bother me too much because I had, a tiny brain and I could be entertained pretty easily with any kind of media like video games, movies, cartoons. But as I got older, I started to get that awful feeling known as FOMO, or the fear of missing out. And this kind of jump started me to go out there and make friends. And for a while it worked until high school ended and everyone kind of went their separate ways. I kept in contact with some friends, but we would mainly just play games online or call on Discord. But the times we'd talk or hang out, we'd do the same things every single time. It was so repetitive that I started isolating myself from them because I was beginning to feel bored. And when nobody wanted to leave their comfort zone or do anything new, it began to feel extremely monotonous. This is about the general feelings I had as the days turned into weeks and my brain started turning into mush. That was until one day I got home from work and I received a message from my good friend Eric. And thus became a chain of events that would lead to what is now known as my best friends. After that message, I got on a voice call with him in the Dungeon Master, and we started to discuss what the campaign was going to be like and what module we're going to do. I should mention that I had experience in playing D&D prior to this, but most of the time that I had played it ended poorly or abruptly. So as you can probably tell, I was seriously out of my depth, but I wanted so badly to play that I was willing to jump out into the deep end. Luckily, this wasn't the case. Sailor was nice enough to give me a crash course on how the game works and essentially explain anything that I didn't know. It was an incredibly kind and welcoming thing for her to do. I don't think I would have been as comfortable with the group if she hadn't done that, so thanks. With all that careful preparation, we decided on using Roll20, which is the website where you can play D&D. Normally people play in person, around a round table with real dice and a can of Mountain Dew and some really terrible pizza from down the street. But we decided to use the internet, mainly because we were all sort of spread out along the entirety of Florida. So finally, after getting everyone's schedule in line, and believe me when I tell you that this was the most difficult part about this process, we finally played, and it was amazing. When I tell you that I absolutely enjoyed all of it, I'm not joking. Granted, I wasn't the best player, and I had a few missteps when it came to rules and all that, but overall, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of different terms and the usage, like make a perception check, where you look around and you roll a dice to see if your eye catches anything, or you're blind as a bat. Or roll a death save, where you're basically gambling with death and hoping to God that he doesn't turn you into a statistic. Or you're not allowed to romance the villain. Crazy terms like that I've never really heard of. Of course, all of this is really thanks to Discord, because honestly, if it would have been so much more difficult to communicate or talk with any of these guys without the use of a proper messaging app. It really did set everything up, from instant messaging to voice channels to different text channels for memes and notes about the session. We communicated through all of these things and it really brought us together. With all that said and done, we continued to play for a few months and even finished some short campaigns where we finally decided to take on a long one. And you're probably thinking, hey, what's a campaign and what's the difference between a long one and a short one? Well, I'm getting to that. God. Campaign is essentially a storyline or a plot of the game, but instead of a movie where you just sit there and watch, you actually become the cast and you get to shape the story with your actions. The difference between a long and a short campaign is something between 4 to 6 weeks, where a long campaign can last years. We're still playing the long one, mind you. It's been nearly 2 years! Not to mention sessions can be 2 to 6 hours, which gets really exhausting, but hey, at least we get breaks, so there's that. D&D can be anything you want it to be. You could literally make anything into a tabletop RPG. This game has been a huge part of my life for the last 2 years, and I don't think I would be where I am today without the friends that I've made along the way. I know that sounds really corny and campy, but it's true. These guys have shaped me into the person that I am today, and honestly, I don't know what I'd do without them. Thanks to D&D, I got to become a better person, believe it or not, and make more friends and colleagues and people that I respect.